Hi, I'm Ian Griffiths, and this is a talk from the Building Silverlight Business Applications series. In this talk, I'll show how you can sign zaps so that your user can be confident of where an out-of-browser application came from before they agree to install it. If you create a Silverlight application and configure it for out-of-browser operation with elevated trust, the user will see a somewhat off-putting warning dialog with an orange title, indicating that it's not known where the software came from. However, you can embed a digital certificate in a zap and then sign the zap to match the certificate. As long as the signature matches and the certificate checks out against a trusted root certificate authority, a more friendly looking dialog will be shown instead, indicating the publisher named in the certificate. To sign the zap, you just use the normal Sign Tool program, the same one you'd use when signing Windows executables with an Authenticator certificate. The only thing different about using this tool for Silverlight is that you tell it to sign a zap rather than signing an executable. For development and testing purposes, you can generate a test certificate in the usual way with the Make Cert tool. Note that you'll need to add your test certificate to the list of trusted root certification authorities for this to work. If a .zap is signed with a certificate that cannot be verified via a root CA, Silverlight behaves as though the zap were not signed at all. And since test certificates are self-signed, you need to add them as root CAs. To illustrate zap signing, I built a very simple Silverlight application. It doesn't contain any UI at all, it's just configured to run out of browser with elevated trust. So when I try to install it, we get this slightly scary dialog. The publisher is said to be unverified, and we get the big orange title bar and the exclamation mark. The whole thing's rather off-putting. It's not really inviting people in to install my application. So we can improve this by signing the zap. Let me cancel out of that. And I'm going to go to a command prompt where I'm going to do some work to set up a signature. I'm going to use a test certificate just to illustrate this. So let's call Make Cert, which will build me a development test cert with the -R option to make this self-signed. I'll make the private key exportable. I'm going to store this in my private cert store. And I'm going to give it a name of cn equals demo test cert. And I'm going to store this in a file called demo.cer to hold the certificate. So that will generate a self-signed test certificate. And I can now use that to sign the zap file. So I'm in the client bin folder here. There's the demo cert and there's the zap I'm about to sign. And I'll run the sign tool. Tell it to sign something. I want verbose output so I can verify it's doing what I hope. I'm going to point it at the same cert store, private cert store as before. I'm going to tell it to use that demo test cert. I don't need to specify cn equals here, I just say the name of the subject. And I have to tell it the name of the zap I'd like it to sign. So we run this, it prints out some information about where it got the certificate from, what the hash is, and so on, says it's worked successfully. And actually, if we look at the zap again, notice up there it's 3903 bytes long, so just under 4K. If I look at it again, rather than 3903, it's now up to 4873. So the zap has clearly changed. It's grown because it now contains a signature. So now I'm going to reload this. I'm going to go into Internet Explorer and hit Control F5 to force a reload. I'm going to right-click and try installing again. And actually, right now, it's not going to be any different because the certificate's untrusted. So what I actually need to do is go and add this certificate to my root certificate store. So let's do this. So I'm going to run the demo cert. And this gives me the option to install the certificate. And if I go through this wizard and say I would like to place the cert in my trusted root certification authorities store. Click next and say finish. And it says, are you quite sure you want to do that? It's pointing out that I'm doing something potentially rather dangerous. I'm choosing to trust something of unknown origin. Now obviously I know what I just did, so I'm going to click yes. And that should now be in my store. So let's go one more time. Do Control F5 to refresh that. And we'll try installing it. And this time, rather than getting the bright orange, scary exclamation mark warning, I get this slightly more gentle looking, sort of blue-greenish thing, a question mark rather than an exclamation mark, and the subject name that was embedded in the certificate is now visible as the publisher. So this is a slightly more inviting kind of user experience that we get if we sign our zaps.